Hello and very welcome everyone to this session of Ancient History Part 8. In today's session, we are going to discuss the topics that we have not covered so far in ancient history. We will see the type of things that are really important in terms of the ancient history and that could be asked in the upcoming exams. So let's start our session and see what are the things we need to remember and we need to learn. So, before we start, the images, text, and other materials used in our presentations are for educational purpose only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the same. So, first we have to discuss is about the Gupta period today. So, after the particular Magadha Empire was started by Haryank dynasty, Bimbisar, and later the great empire that was formed out in Magadha Empire, that was the Mauryas. So after somewhere around 500 years later of the Mauryan kingdoms, or 300 to 400 years later of the Mauryan kingdoms, now came another big empire of that time, that was the Gupta period. And if we talk about the Gupta period, so this particular period was famously known as the golden period of ancient history. So let's talk about them and see what we can learn. So the Gupta rule for witnessing all-round progress, that is in spheres of art, architecture, literature, science and technology, metallurgy and philosophy, regarded as the golden age of ancient India. That is why I said earlier, because we can see that they are particularly doing epics in each and every sector, either it was art, architecture, literature, science, technology, metallurgy, anything of that time was basically in every aspect they were expert, and that is why that particular time was known as the golden age of ancient India. If we talk about the Gupta rule, so Gupta were particularly type of the type of rulers who were particularly came from the Vaishya clan, and the particular worship that they used to do was of Vishnu. So let's read more on them. So stable polity, profitable trade, secured and peaceful social setup provided the required conducive environment for development of North India. So this was the time when the lot of small empires were developing. So after the end of Mauryas, then Shung came, then after Shung came the particular Satvahans, and after Satvahans, basically the attacks of the invaders was also started, like the Indo-Greek, Sakas, Parthians, and other particular type of invaders were coming from outside. And later Kushans were also coming from outside, as they were also from Indo-Chinese tribe. Then came another type of time in which a particular Indian clan, that was a Vaishya clan, ruled the northern Indian part. And the most profitable trade happened at that time, and kind of a society that was created was developed in all the particular type of sectors, and also stable polity was created at that time in Gupta period. Shrigupta was the first ruler of the dynasty, followed by his son. And Shrigupta, along with Ghatotkach, started this empire, and Shrigupta became the first king of the Gupta Empire. Bhitari pillar inscription dating to his reign gives the chronology of Guptas and his conflict with Pushyamitra and Huns. So basically, it tells about the Guptas, that how they started and how they protected their particular empire from Huns and Pushyamitra. Let's talk more on this. So here are certain rulers of Gupta Empire. So after Sri Gupta started the Gupta dynasty, basically there were certain rulers who came and they particularly made this empire very strong, either by attacking or having a war or particularly having diplomacy. So let's talk more on them, on these particular kings. Like the first ruler that we need to understand was the Chandragupta first. So he came after Shrigupta and Ghatotkach, and he was basically the one who is also known as the real founder of Gupta Empire. So his time period you can see was from 319 CE to 335 CE. So do remember 2 points about him, the really important points. First, he was the real founder of Gupta Empire. Another one, that he started the Gupta era, that was from 319 AD. Why we call him the real founder of Gupta Empire? Because Sri Gupta was the one who started this dynasty or this empire. But at that time, the kind of the name was not given, or it was a kind of a leader thing that happened by that was started by Sri Gupta. But later, Chandragupta first, he particularly created this thing, that he declared this particular time as the Gupta era, from starting from 319. So the first important ruler was Chandragupta first, and the starting was from 319 CE to 335 CE, who is considered the actual founder of the dynasty, as I was saying. So he was the real founder of this Gupta dynasty. He assumed the title of Maharaja Dhiraj, and this was a time when a lot of kings you will find will be accepting or adopting these type of titles. Like Chandragupta second will also adopt the Vikramaditya title. So let's talk more on this. His domain included sections of South Bihar, Jharkhand, and eastern Uttar Pradesh, and basically the areas called Saket and Prayag. So these are the places in which he controlled his domain. And other than that, one more thing happened during his time is basically that he controlled the particular places under a strong control. That means no other kind of invader or something was trying to attack during his time. Chandragupta first, his accession is about AD 319 to 320, marks the beginning of the Gupta Samvat or Gupta era. Chandragupta first married the Licchavi princess Kumar Devi and increased his influence in the North Bihar region, that is Nepal. So basically, when we talk about the Licchavi princess, first of all, so that is why Samudragupta will call himself Licchavi Dovitra, because his mother was from Licchavi clan, and Licchavi clan at that time basically was one of the best in mortal combat, and that is why Samudragupta ally himself more towards Licchavi clan. So do remember, Chandragupta first married the Licchavi princess Kumar Devi, and that is why his influence in the northern Bihar region was also expanded. And gold coins depicting Kumar Devi and Chandragupta were first minted as Kumar Devi coins. So basically, gold coins, we all know, were particularly first introduced by the Indo-Greeks, and later it was uh, more importantly used during the Vim Kadphi's time of Kushan Empire. But now gold coins are not many in number, but still underused by the Gupta Empire as well, because lot of international trade was done in the terms of gold coins only, and that is why the gold coins were depicted with the figure or the inscriptions of Kumar Devi and Chandragupta, and the first were first minted as Kumar Devi coins. So these are some of the things that happened during the time of Chandragupta first. And do remember these three things very importantly. First, he was the real founder of Gupta Empire. Second, he started the Gupta era. Third, he married the Licchavi princess Kumar Devi. And from her, he got the son Samudragupta. And now let's talk about Samudragupta. So Samudragupta was from 335 CE to 380 CE. And let's talk about him also, guys. So the son of Chandragupta first, Kumar Samudragupta, became the next ruler whose conquests are recorded in Prayag Prashasti eulogy. So let me tell you about Prayag Prashasti first of all. So basically what happened, guys, that Prayag Prashasti is the inscription of Samudragupta on a pillar that is called the Allahabad pillar of Ashok. And do remember one thing, that it was done by a poet, a court poet, that was Harishen. So Allahabad pillar was basically founded by Ashok during the Mauryan Empire. So Ashok pillar has inscription about Ashok. Later, Harishan also wrote some particular things about Samudragupta. That is why it also has inscriptions of Samudragupta. And after that, if we go in further, so one of the Mughal king also inscribed about himself on this pillar, and that was Jahangir. So do remember that Allahabad pillar has inscription of three different kings of different eras. One is Ashok, one is Samudragupta, and third one was Jahangir. And the inscription of Samudragupta is famously known as Prayag Prashasti. So Harishen, Samudragupta's court poet, scholar, and minister, wrote those victories Prayag Prashasti in classical Sanskrit. So basically, all the wars that were fought by Samudragupta and all the things that happened, and the type of war that he fought were basically and particularly in all of them he became victorious. So that is why this Prayag Prashasti was written. Now, according to Prayag Prashasti, Samudragupta conquered 8 kings of Aryavarth, northern India, that is Ganga Valley. So this is the most important thing. So according to Prayag Prashasti, Samudragupta was so efficient and so effective and so important that he conquered about 8 kings around himself. So that is why this Prayag Prashasti was to be written at that time. Then Samudragupta captured and then liberated and reinstated the 12 kings of Dakshin Path, that is South India. So if we talk about the 8 kings around him, that is Aryavarth, and 12 kings of Dakshin Path were basically liberated or either reinstated by the Samudragupta. And that is why you can also understand that is why he was called a Napoleon of India by V.A. Smith. A large part of the subcontinent succumbed to the power of Samudragupta and paid tribute. So in that time of Ashok, so Bindusar and Ashok, they particularly expanded the empire, and in the time of Gupta, Samudragupta and then Chandragupta II, they are basically the one who expanded the empire. Same is the situation for the Mughals as well. During the time of Mughal era, you will find that Akbar and Shah Jahan, basically the one who expanded the empire to the maximum extent. And in every particular empire, there are certain kings who are doing this kind of work. So in case of Gupta Empire, that was Samudragupta and later the Chandragupta II. Let's read more on this. Some other rulers as well. So now let's read more about Samudragupta first of all. So following these accomplishments, Samudragupta conducted the Ashwamedh Yagna. So it is really important and it was a ritual at that time. If any king at that time was basically able to destroy or defeat a lot of kings around him, then it is certainly the thing that he will particularly put the Ashwamedh Yagna. And Ashwamedh Yagna is a kind of a process in which a horse, a particular white horse, was particularly left out from the fort, and he will be particularly roaming in all those areas which are particularly conquered or in which areas the king defeated the other kings. And after particularly circulating in all these areas, if any king did not dare to stop the horse, then in that case that particular area have accepted the sovereignty of that king who started the Ashwamedh Yagna. So that was the Ashwamedh Yagna, and Samudragupta was the one who conducted it after defeating all these kings. He issued Ashwamedh coins and Tiger Slayer coin, Battle Axe coin, and Veena coin. Veena coin is most important, in which he is displayed playing the Veena. And that is why, remember one thing and wrote down this point in your notebooks. Samudragupta was famously known as Kaviraj. Why? Because he showed himself playing Veena in his coins. Then Samudragupta turned into no longer handiest a conqueror, but traditionally a high quality poet, musician, and consumer of mastering. So, after particularly, as we know, that he was a best conqueror or best king of that time. So, after that, he particularly also moved his interest in some other areas like music, poem, and other important things of that time as well. Samudragupta's success conquest has earned him the identity of Napoleon of India. And do remember this point that this quote or this nickname of Samudragupta was given to him by V.A. Smith. Then Allahabad pillar inscription called him Dharma Prachar Bandhu. Do remember this point as well. This is really important that apart from he was called Napoleon of India, and Prayag Prashasti was written for him, and Kaviraj was his another name. Now another name, do remember that he was also known as Dharm Prachar Bandhu. Now after Samudragupta, another king that came to the power was Chandragupta II, and he remained from 380 CE to 414 CE. Now let's read about him. So when Chandragupta II ascended to the throne, he vanquished the Sakas in the western area, that is Gujarat, Kathiawar, and West Malwa, and took the title Vikramaditya and reigned from Ujjain. So basically, this was the time when Chandragupta II was the one who also expanded his empire and towards the western side. So you can see that Samudragupta expanded towards east as well as towards south, and now Chandragupta II was expanding the empire towards the west as well. and he basically also controlled Ujjain as well. That is why one was the time when he transferred the capital to Ujjain also. His second capital was basically the Ujjain. So Udaigiri cave inscription, and that was basically the Vidisha MP. And Sanchi inscription inform us about this, that how he particularly controlled these areas of the Gujarat, Kathiawar, and West Malwa. He married Kuber Nag of the Nag family and had a daughter by her name, that is Prabhavati Gupt. Prabhavati Gupt was married to Vakataka Rudrasen II of Central India. After Rudrasen's death, Prabhavati Gupt ruled as a regent between 390 to 410 CE. So you can see also that without fighting with the Vakatak dynasty, they have controlled Vakatak dynasty because Rudrasen died. His son-in-law died, and after that, his daughter, that was Prabhavati Gupt, was the one who reigned over this particular empire of uh, region called the Vakatak dynasty, and that is why he transferred the capital from Patliputra to Ujjain. Who transferred the capital? That was Chandragupta II. So in history, lot of time the capital was transferred. Earlier it was transferred from Rajgriha to Patliputra. Then during Shishunak dynasty it was transferred to Vaishali. Then again back to Patliputra. Then during the Kushan Empire there were capitals like Peshawar and Mathura. And now we can see that again the capital was earlier was Patliputra and then basically the Ujjain. And further, if we talk about, so Chandragupta II was the first Gupta monarch to mint silver coins with lion motifs patterned after Sak coinage. So do remember this point as well, that he was the first person who minted the silver coins with lion motifs at that time. Most important one, Mehrauli iron pillar inscription. That is the Delhi Qutub Minar complex of Chandragupta II records that Chandragupta II defeated Valikas of Bactria. Bactria was a kingdom that was basically created by Alexander and later ruled by Seleucus and crossing the Sub-Sindhu. So basically, the Mehrauli iron pillar, first of all, let's talk about that. So you can find this iron pillar in Delhi Qutub complex. Whenever are going to visit the Qutub Minar, so you can find this pillar in the center of the Quwwat ul Islam Mosque. And basically, this particular pillar is famous for one more important thing, that it is made of rustless iron. So it was made around 1600 years ago, and still you cannot find any kind of rust on it, and it is in the open area. And that is also a very fascinating thing about this pillar. Another thing that this pillar tells us about that how Chandragupta II defeated the Valikas, particular king of Bactria. Bactria was a particular empire or dynasty that was created by the by the Alexander the Great. And when Alexander the Great was invading India, so he created this particular area of Bactria, and Bactria was the particular place that was later ruled by Seleucus Nicator. So Bactria was basically ruled by the Greek people, and Chandragupta II was the one who defeated them. His court was home to Kalidas and Amar Sinha. So if we talk about the Chandragupta II, so particularly, there are Navratans also presented in his court, and some of them are like the Kalidas. Kalidas is famous as the Shakespeare of India. He wrote different type of novels like Meghdut, Avigyan, Shakuntalam, Vikram, Shaurya, and other ones also. And other than Kalidas, Amar Sinha was also there. Amar Sinha also the one famous for Hindi grammar, and he was the one who also created the book of Hindi dictionary. And then a very important thing, Payan, a Chinese Buddhist monk, paid a visit to his court. So earlier we get to know about Megasthenes. Megasthenes came in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. Now Fayan was a famous Chinese traveler and he visited in the court of Chandragupta II. Do remember that. Let's read more on this. And there are certain other people also in the court of Chandragupta II that were not written. So I would like to tell you some of them, like Panchtantra. Panchtantra was written by Vishnu Sharma. So Vishnu Sharma was also in the court of Chandragupta II. Aryabhat was also in the court of Chandragupta II. And These are some of the Navratans or the nine gems that particularly used to reside in his court, and they are all famous for some different thing. That is why in the first page we learned about that how Gupta period became the golden period of ancient India, because in every sector they worked. Now comes the Kumargupta first. He was from 414 CE to 455 CE. So let's talk more about him. So the Karam Danda, that is Faizabad inscription, refers to the King Kumargupta first as the ruler of four seas. So do remember who was the Gupta ruler who is known as the ruler of four seas? That was Kumargupta first. The Mandsaur inscription as ruler of the entire globe, and the Damodarpur copper plate inscription as Maharaja Dhiraj Bilsad Eta inscription also mentions Kumargupta first. Kumargupta first performed Ashwamedh Yagna and assumed titles like Ashwamedh Mahendra and Mahendraditya. Kumargupta first, himself a Shiv devotee, produced the Kartik style coins depicting a peacock. Meanwhile, the threat of the Hunas crossing the Hindu Kush was building up during Kumargupta first. On the whole, his reign remained peaceful. During his reign, Nalanda University was established. So, two very important things about it is first is about that Nalanda University was built during his time, and another thing was that Huns started crossing their lines, and now they are starting entering into the Gupta Empire. So basically, Hun attack was a very famous type of attack or invasion that was happening during the time of Gupts, as the earlier kings were so much strong that they were not able to do that, and that is why we can see that lot of kings have defended their empire in the Gupta Empire. But during the time of Kumargupta first, so Huns were now entering into the territory. And do remember that during his time, Nalanda University was created. Another king was Skandgupta, 455 CE to 467 CE, and son of Kumargupta first. Skandgupta during his lifetime bravely fought and defeated Huns on the northwestern frontier. So you can also understand one thing, that Skandgupta was the last strong ruler of Gupta Empire, and he fought with the Huns very bravely, and particularly because of him only they remain in their position. His victory against Pushyamitra is commemorated in the Bitari pillar inscription. Got the Sudarshan Lake repaired, that is Junagadh inscription. So Skandgupta's death in 467 CE was followed by incompetent successors who could not keep the empire intact. And this all happened because during the time of Skandgupta, and after Skandgupta there were no particular ruler who particularly were able to save their empire from Huns. If we talk about Sudarshan Lake was firstly created by Chandragupta Maurya, and the uh, thing that we are talking about a Junagadh inscription. So Junagadh inscription basically tells us that it was earlier created by Chandragupta Maurya. Later it was renovated by Skandgupta also. Now let's talk about the reasons what led to the decline of Gupta dynasty. So first is the feudal lords. The recipients of land grants began asserting themselves and establishing their own dynasties. So feudal lords, basically, if you want to compare it with another type of scheme in the medieval history or modern history, so that was the Mansabdari. So the king in the Gupta Empire, basically, they have large empires, and what they used to do is they particularly put a feudal lords, that is, the lands are granted to some of the higher positions people like the general, the ministers, and these people during the time when the king was strong, and the feudal lords cannot do anything against the king, so they remained loyal. And as soon as the king coming on the throne were weak and incompetent, these feudal lords started creating their sovereign state. So that is one of the reasons that is the shrinking of Gupta empire was started. Then decentralized bureaucracy and the absence of a big permanent and professional army were significant contributors to decline. So this is always what we can see in any empire, that the bureaucracy and absence of some big army professionals and other things are the contributor to the decline, that because of which the empire cannot sustain. Then decline of foreign trade, invasions of Hun, weak successors contributed to their decline. So as soon as the foreign trades and the invasions of Hun was particularly started, and the foreign trade was started weakening because of one thing, that Huns were there on the boundaries, and another thing, that weak successors were there who cannot take any kind of decisions that how to control it. So that led to the decline of this empire. Vishnugupta, that was from 540 CE to 550 CE, was the last recognized Gupta ruler. Do remember that. Vishnugupta is also the name of Chanakya, the real name of Chanakya, but that he is a different king. So Vishnugupta was the last ruler of Gupta Empire. Socio-economic condition during Gupta period. Now let's talk about some of the social and economic things that happened at that time. First is the administration. King was assisted by the council of ministers. So that is, we can see also that during the time of Chandragupta II, there were Navratans in his court who were particularly famous for their own type of subjects, but also worked as a minister. Then Bhukti. Bhukti was a province and Vishaya was a province division. So you can compare it like this, that Bhukti is a province. Province means, as compared to today's era, it is a state. And in that particular province, there are certain divisions that are called Vishaya. That means, as today we have a state, and in a state we have districts. So I think you can get the comparison. So Bhukti and Vishaya were administrative units headed by Uparika and Vishyapati respectively. So do remember this point as well, that Bhukti were headed by Uparika and Vishyapati were headed by Vishaya were headed by Vishyapati. Vishaya was further subdivided into Vithi, with village being the smallest subdivision. So the smallest subdivision is village, and below Vishaya was the subdivision called Vithi. Then let's read some more on this. The bureaucracy was not as refined as that of Maurya. Important offices like Mahanand Anayaka, justice delivery, Maha Pratihara, chief of the guards, Dutakas, associated with gifts and grants, Sandhi Vigrahika, minister of peace and war, Pilupati, headed elephants, Aswapati, headed horses, Narapati, headed foot soldiers, Rana Bandha Grika, in charge of stores, Aksha Pataladhikrita, superintendent of records and accounts. So these are certain officers of that time that are basically taking care of different things. Like Pilupati was the particular one who is the head elephant, who will head elephants. Sandhi Vigarika was a minister of peace and war. He was, you can say, a kind of a defense minister. Then Ashwapati was heading the horses. Narapati was heading the foot soldiers. Then Rana Bandagrika was in charge of stores. So these are certain particular positions that will be responsible for certain different things. Then if we talk about economy, so agriculture, trade, business, art and crafts all thrived throughout the Gupta era. The king's administration facilitated irrigation, ensured measurement and categorization of land into cultivated and uncultivated lands. Cultivated lands are called Kshetra, uncultivated are called Khila or Aprahata. Landowners are Mahatars, Gramika, and Kutumbika. Gained power since land was a valuable asset that could be sold or bestowed. Craftsmen produced both utility and luxury items. Particularly, craftsmanship became the basis. Jati formation, that is caste Shreni, continued to govern the traders' affairs. Common people traded in cowrie shells, issued less pure gold coins than Kushan. So these are some of the things related to the economy of that time. Let's read more on this. Society and religion. So society became clearly feudalistic, as I already told you. Brahmins, Brahmadyas or Agraharas, and feudal chief received land grants. So at that time, majorly the Brahmins and some of the higher positions are getting the land grants. Women's and Shudras status improved. This is because before this time Jainism and Buddhism was prevailing. So during this time, some reforms were also done in Hinduism. And when they are permitted to listen to the Ramayana and Mahabharata and were urged to adore Krishna. Sati was first mentioned in Bhanugupt Iran inscription. So this was the time there was a king of Gupta Empire, that was Bhanugupt, and while he was fighting with the Hun attack, So one of his friend was basically died in the battle, and as he died, his wife basically done the sati practice at that time. That was particularly described in Iran inscription, and that is why the first inscription or first evidence or inscribed of sati was from coming from Iran inscription. And child marriage was also practiced. Fayan records almost the absence of crime and death penalty. Vishti was compelled to work for the royal army and bureaucrats. So basically, there was no death penalty at that time, and as well as a lot of absence of crime as well. And Chandals were outcasts, and meaning they were excluded from the fourfold one system and forced to live outside village communities. So Chandals are basically those people who help in burning of dead bodies. So they are basically thrown out of this one system at that time. Various religious sects coexisted harmoniously. Vaishnavite or Shaivite kings got temples constructed for their respective deity. Means those follow the Vishnu or those follow the Shiv. They are particularly creating their temples related to their deity. Religious texts like Purans, Mahabharata, Ramayana were expanded, and in this period, Bhagavatism centered around Vishnu emerged. And to remember that Garud was the symbol of Gupta Empire, and by that you can understand that the most important follow the kings are following was the Vishnu deity. Then let's talk about the art and architecture. So continued growth of the Ajanta school, that is the Ajanta Ellora caves. Theme Buddha's life was accompanied by emergence of Baga school near Hoshangabad in Madhya Pradesh. In these cave walls were decorated, painted in local themes, that is, it related to common people. Sculpture making made considerable growth with evidences of various stone images. Several locations have documented metal and stone images of Buddha, bronze, Bhagalpur, Shiv, and Vishnu. So these are some of the things that are found from these particular caves. Images of God appeared first time. So this was the first time when particularly the images of gods were created. Stoop and cave construction reduced, and temple construction, Shikara, picked up. Dashavtar Temple, Jhansi, UP, Bhitargav Temple, Brick, Kanpur, UP, Parvati Temple, Nachna Kuthara, MP, Vishnu Temple, Jabalpur, MP, Bagh cave paintings are from this time period. So these are some of the things in the place of art and architecture that happened during the time of Gupta Empire. Now let's talk about the literature during this period, during Gupta period. So development of literature in Gupta period was diverse as it covered from poetry and play, art, dance and music, philosophy, religion to science, mathematics, physiology and astronomy, etc. And this can be understandable because there were certain gems in the court of Chandragupta II like Kalidas, Vishnu Sharma, Arya Bhatt, and so that we can clearly understand that it is very clear that all these people have created something related to these fields, and that is why a lot of literature from this particular type of things were created at that time. In Chandragupta II's court, there were Navratans or nine gems who were experts in certain subjects. So if we talk about Chandragupta II, so Chandragupta II was full of Navratans, as I was telling you, and that is why there are certain experts of these subjects, and that is why we can see that lot of things in literature were done in this particular fields. Amar Simha, Dhanvantri was the court physician. Amar Simha, I already told you, was the person who wrote the the Hindi dictionary at that time, and that was Amar Kosh. And Harishen was the court poet of Samudragupta as well, and in the court of Chandragupta II as well. Kalidas, the famous Shakespeare of India. Then Kaha, Panaka, Shanku, Vrahamihir. Vrahamihir was an astrologer. Vararuchi, Vetal Bhatt were among them. So these are some of the Navratans of that time, and they were particularly experts in their fields. Dharm Shastras, Narad Smriti, Vishnu Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti, and portion of Ramayana and Mahabharata Bhashas. 12 plays were also written in this period. So these are some of the things happened at that time. The majority of the literature is written in the elaborated Sanskrit language. Let's talk more on this. Like we have some particular work of some particular authors like Kalidas. Kalidas wrote some of the very famous work like Abhigyan Shakuntalam, Vikram uh, Orva Siyam, also known as Vikram Shaurya, Malvika Agnimitra, very famous, Kum Rasma Bhava, and Raghu Vansham, Meghdutam, Ritu Samhara, Jyoti Vidya Bharna. These are some of the works of Kalidas. Then Kaman Daka, he wrote Nitisara. Then Vishakhadat, he wrote Mudra Rakshas and Devi Chandraguptam. Then Gunadya, they wrote Brihata Katha and Sudrak. Very important, guys. This is the real one of the most important book, have been asked so many times. Sudrak wrote Mricha Katikam. Then Vrahamihir wrote Panch Siddhant Tika, that is 5 books. Brihat Samhita, most notable. Then Sushrut basically wrote Sushrut Samhita on surgery. Some more related to it. Vagbhat basically wrote Ashtangridya. Dhanvantri basically wrote Ayurveda. Amar Singh wrote Amar Kosh. And Aryabhat wrote Bhatyam and Surya Siddhant. Then Brahmgupt wrote Brahma Sfu the Siddhant. And Brahmgupt, if we talk about, was the also the considered as the one who talked about gravity in his books. Then Bhasa was the one that who wrote Swapana Vasya Vase Dattam. Now let's talk about administration of that time. So during the Gupta period, monarchy was the prevailing form of government. We all know. The rulers of Gupta dynasty had their own councils. The council of ministers were known as Mantri Parishad. Very important, guys. And in the time of Shivaji Maharaj, it was known as Ashtapradhan. It consisted of high officials like the Kumara Matya and the Sandhi Vigrahika. The empire was divided into provinces which were known as Bhuktis, which I already told you. Bhuktis were further subdivided into Vishyas. Each Bhukti was under the control of an Uparika, and Uparikas were appointed by the king. The Vishayas were under the control of Vishyapatis, and who were appointed by the provincial governor or sometimes the king himself. So either they will be appointed by the king or by the particular Uparikas. The village administration was managed by the headman of the village. Unlike the Mauryan times, the administration in the Gupta period seems to have been managed from grassroots levels. So that is the difference between the administration of Mauryas and Gupta, and that is all about the administration of Gupta period. And that's it in this session, guys. I hope you learned a lot of things related to the Gupta period and gained great knowledge that will help you in your upcoming exams. I will meet you in the next session in which we will discuss more on this ancient history part. And till the time we meet, bye bye. Take care, everyone, and see you soon.